Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are talking about freelancing, which is a topic I haven't really touched too much on my channel. And specifically, I want to talk about how you can use some AI tools to help freelancing go a little bit smoother, a little bit easier, save yourself some time. So I'm going to use an example of a freelance project that I'm working on currently, and yeah, we'll go from there. So since this is a project that's not out in the wild yet, I'm looking down at my laptop at it. So I'm going to use some hypotheticals, some examples, not exactly what I'm working on. So a friend of mine reached out to me and is trying to launch a little app and wanted my help on the UX of it, the design of it. Kind of how it worked was I met with her and the partner that she's working on this with, kind of gave me the rundown of what they're trying to do, what they've accomplished so far, and where I can pretty much help them. And so taking all that information, I then went and created a little contract. Doesn't have to be fancy. I took this straight off of Canva, made the updates of what services I would be providing, the prices, the contract terms, my general timeline for things, and then I signed it, they signed it, and then we got the contract going that way. In this case, for this project, I am doing competitive analysis, the wireframes, eventually the high fidelity design with prototype, and as well as handing over the UI library to maintain said app and website. So I'm still in the middle of this project. This project is not complete. We're kind of still in the early half of it, but I did just want to come in here and just talk about how I think AI can sometimes be a big word in terms of people wanting to use it. And I think with so many different AI tools, so many gadgets and this and that, it kind of is overwhelming. And I just wanted to show you guys how I'm using it. And I'm not really going crazy with it. I'm not paying for anything, outrageous. I'm not trying 5 different things. I'm really trying to keep it simple. And so that's what I want to share with you guys, my very simple usage of AI, and maybe it'll give you guys some ideas for yourself. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a fake example. My friend and client wants to create a food delivery app, website, whatever you want to call it, specifically cater to small businesses in your area. So she had already done some of her own customer interviews, and what she really needed from me was to kind of do a little bit more research into what the competitors were doing. So I went to the big players, Uber Eats and DoorDash. And as a visual person, I went to Mobbin that I have talked to you guys about before. I think there's a link in my description. I'll have everything linked that I talk about down in my description. Went there and just started looking at the differences. I also created a grid template that is showing screenshots that I think are important, as well as mission statement, kind of their target market, how they do their pricing structure, things that I found to be strengths, weaknesses, as well as features that I saw consistent throughout. That could be onboarding, if it was a membership offered, like any of these kind of running themes, I also had that broken down. And so that's typically how I like to run my competitive research. I just take a couple of competitors that I think are in the similar space, look and see what they're doing, how they're doing it, anything I think is a strength or a weakness, and kind of just run from there. I compiled all that information, and the AI tools I used were ChatGPT, Google Gemini, G2, which I used for kind of user sentiments, looking at reviews, as well as, like I mentioned, Mobbin. So those 4 tools are what I use for my competitive research. Again, there are so many tools out here, but I'm just trying to show you guys, I try to keep it simple as much as possible. There is obviously room to add stuff onto it, but if you're just getting started out, see how these ones go before you start to build. Since we're talking about AI, just wanted to pause here real quick and shout out Springboard, who's sponsoring this section of the video. And guys, they have now added AI units to their courses for the UI UX bootcamp. And that is a bootcamp that I did to become a UX designer. If you guys are new here, that's the program that I went through. When I was going through this, guys, there was not an AI unit. And it feels kind of crazy because it was 3 years ago that I did this boot camp. So things have changed so much. And I love that they're keeping up with those changes by including these AI segments, talking about market trends, AI tools, how to best use them. I'm kind of curious actually what else is in it. I want to see the syllabus. I bring this up because if you are looking for education, you want to make sure it matches the current industry. And I think Springboard does a really great job of that. They have the job guarantee. If you're applying for jobs for a certain amount of time and you still do not get a job, you get a full refund on your tuition. They also have a few different tier structures for tuition. So whether you're able to pay up front, you want to do a payment plan, they offer all of that, guys. I will make sure to include the link down in my description that gets you all this really good information. Their next cohort, though, their next class starts October 7th. So you don't really have that much time left because the deadline to get all your paperwork, all your documents in is October 2nd. So you've got a few more days left, guys. So if any of this interests you, if you think UX is for you, use the code Stephanie M to get $1,000 off that program. And yeah, and use Springboard to kind of jumpstart that career in UX. Yeah, next thing for me was to create a user flow. And that can be a user flow, site map, service map. I've heard it called different things, but the way that I use this is to understand, what am I designing? What are all the touch points? How is the user going to download this app or get on this website and start using the product? I personally like to use Figma for this, where it's just boxes and arrows and text of okay, onboarding screen, 1, 2, 3, sign in, sign up, password reset. What's the first screen? Are we going to have any explanation text? A great way I do that is I just kind of do a brain dump of everything that I think the user is going to need. And I also like just to cross check myself. I could go into Gemini and say, I'm creating a food delivery app specifically for small businesses. What are all the flows? What are all the screens a user is going to interact with? And so I kind of just cross-reference, okay, onboarding, payment screen, profile, those kinds of things. But I know there are some other tools like Flowmap and Whimsical that can also help you guys with this part of the process as well. I have not used them personally, but if you want something that's a little bit more robust, I think that's a great way to go about it too. You've done all the brain and the thinking and what all this is going to look like. Now I feel like this is really where the design happens, where you're going to be creating what this experience is going to look like. So this is when I start doing my wireframing. And again, it does not have to be as scary as you think. It also depends on what you agreed on with the freelance project. You can use something like Excalibur, which creates your designs in kind of this hand-drawn look and feel, but you're doing it on a website. So maybe you're not wanting to create the entire flow, but let's say you just want to, whip up the onboarding experience, where you want to look at how somebody's going to filter through different options when they're trying to place an order. You could do that on here and then send it off to your client to kind of get feedback without committing to doing the entire wireframing. So that's the one tool that I have used before, and I do really like it. I have not used Figma's AI tool, but I think it might still be in beta, where you can literally type in, I need a design for a coffee shop app, and it will literally create screens for you. Don't just rely on those, because that doesn't take into account any of your research, anything that you've learned. You're probably never really going to be creating something so just out of the box like that. So I would use it with caution. Another tool I've seen used is UWizard, I believe is how you pronounce it. Also kind of creates these really cool wireframes for you as well by putting in some prompts. So there are options out there, but I would really, really stress giving it a try yourself. Do not rely so heavily on AI. Maybe you could use it for inspiration and get a sense of okay, how are button structures typically, or how are checkout processes typically done? That's kind of where I would use the AI function on it, not to actually just create my design for me. I think I might do a part 2 depending on how this freelance project goes, but I just want to kind of throw this in here, guys. If you're working on a freelance project or a portfolio project and you want to use AI, don't be so intimidated with it. Just start small. Honestly, some of the basic, the fact that it's basic now, ChatGPT, Gemini, Bard, all of these just prompt text AI can be really helpful in terms of having that second check. So hopefully this helps you guys. I will link everything that I talked about, every AI tool, every resource that I use down below. Don't forget to check out Springboard, code Stephanie M to get $1,000 off. And with that, guys, I will see you in the next one.